Conversation this afternoon. The Intra-Africa Trade Fair, IATF, put together by AfriExim in collaboration with the African Union's Commission and the AFCFTA Secretariat, was first held in Cairo, Egypt in 2018 as a flagship platform to boost trade and investment across Africa. Now, it was created to bring together buyers, sellers, investors, and governments to unlock opportunities presented by the African Continental Free Trade Area. The IATF provides a unique space for African businesses to showcase goods and services, engage in business-to-business and business-to-government exchanges, and explore African market linkages. Now, since its inception, the IATF has grown into Africa's premier trade and investment marketplace. Let me give you some figures to this. IATF 2018 in Cairo attracted over 1,000 exhibitors and generated trade and investment deals with worth more than $32 billion. IATF 2021 in Durban, South Africa, welcomed more than 1,100 exhibitors from 59 countries and recorded deals worth $42 billion. IATF 2023 in Cairo hosted 1,600 exhibitors and achieved trade and investment commitments exceeding $43 billion. A lot to say about the IATF, but let's get to our conversation. My guest is Dr. Jumoke Oduwole. She is the Honorable Minister of the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment. She joins me live from our Abuja studios for this conversation. Honorable Minister, good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining the program.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, I'm sure you heard when I rolled out those figures, brilliant figures, which I want Nigeria to definitely tap into. But let's start with the just concluded Intra-Africa Trade Fair in Algeria. You confirmed that Nigeria seeks to diversify its economic partnership with Algeria, given the opportunities available in both countries. Can you help shed more light on that?
Thank you for the question, and it's an important one because Algeria was host country and Nigeria is hosting next. So I was met by my counterpart, the minister responsible for foreign trade and export promotion, and immediately we had a very vibrant and positive bilateral discussion where both energy-focused economies, and then we also have quite diversified manufacturing bases, different products we talked about. Also, they're interested in opening up their services sector and being more open to the rest of Africa and to the world. And so I also, on the sidelines, had a meeting with Nasima and the chair of the Nigerian-Algeria Chamber of Commerce, a gentleman who'd been there, a Nigerian gentleman from Kebbi, who's been in Algeria for about 15 years, and some of the other Algerian and Nigerian members of the association. And they told me that there's actually a route by road that takes about a week to move goods from the northern part of Nigeria into Algeria, just through Niger Republic, that they've tested. And so we immediately went into conversations on seeing on both sides what non-oil exports we both want to trade in two countries. And so it's been a very positive outcome from that visit.
Well, analysts say or agree that there must be bold and coordinated investments to unlock Africa's economy. Now, I'm talking about considering the size and the population. In your thoughts, do you think IATF is helping to drive this objective?
Definitely. You reeled out the figures yourself. And so year on year, IATF has been getting bigger and better. It's a very bold vision that has been on the cards for many years through the AU. And so IATF is the largest trade fair in Africa and one of the largest in the world. We, as Nigeria, next hosting country, are looking to even top the current records, and you know that we easily can do it, and I'll speak more about that shortly. But IATF is a veritable platform for businesses across the continent to come together to trade. It's been hosted 3 times. This is the 3rd time in Northern Africa, and it's been hosted once in South Africa in Durban. And now the excitement is palpable that it's coming to West Africa, specifically to Nigeria, the Lagos megacity.
Well, I attended the one at Durban, and I must say that it was really not just a talk shop. It was real business, you know, talking about taking advantage of that market. But Nigeria has been picked, yes, you talked on that already, to host the 2027 edition of the Intra-Africa Trade Fair. First, Honorable Minister, how does this feel, Nigeria being picked at this time?
Well, it feels absolutely delightful, exciting, exhilarating. It also feels quite daunting, to be honest. It was really the first approval, the first thing I put in as Honorable Minister within 10 days of being appointed into this position. Mr. President approved that we put in a bid. We had to get that bid together. FMITI worked so hard with the Lagos State government. I must thank the Lagos State governor and his team, putting together a very strong bid. And then we hosted the conglomerate, the amalgamation of organizations from the Afrexim Bank to the AFCFTA to AU to Badia, all the organizations that come together to deliver the trade fair. They came on a due diligence visit for a week in Lagos in February. And so getting ready for that was an experience in itself. So the work commenced in January and we won. And so we're just continuing, and we know what we're going to deliver in 2026 for CANEX and then the IATF in 2027.
I think this must have been very competitive and challenging to get selected for the 2027 edition of this very important trade fair. Are we ready to host the IATF 2027?
Lagos, are you ready? You know you're ready. We are more than ready. Look, Lagos just even last week hosted GITEX. Lagos is hosting a boat race in November. Lagos has been consistently hosting bigger and better events. Now, for this due diligence, it wasn't just talking. We had to walk the talk. So the federal government and the Lagos State government came together, a whole slew of stakeholders. I should commend the Lagos State commissioners from commerce to tourism to health to transport to technology. And of course, FMITI, that's the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, and the agencies under us like NEXIM, like Export Promotion Council, SMEDAN, BOI, really coming together. We had to go through the airport, working with immigration, working with FAN. What is that procedure like? They looked at the seaport as well, asked a lot of questions. There was a full questionnaire and then due diligence. How many hotel bed spaces do we have? How many hospital bed spaces do we have? What is the connectivity of our venue, the National Theatre, which is a beautiful venue that has interconnectivity across from various parts of Lagos, from Apapa, from the mainland, from the island. We actually took them from Marina on the rail to the National Theatre, and you should have seen the beautiful view as we approach the National Theatre by rail, the aerial view. So we are ready. It's going to be a lot of work, and we know what it entails, and we're ready to deliver.
Indeed, a great task ahead. Now, before I go to the single African...
You sound skeptical. You actually sound skeptical.
No, I believe we can. I believe we can. Lagos can. Nigeria can. We are ready. But before I talk about the African currency, which has been re-echoed again, I want to ask you regards the AFCFTA and what we are doing. I know that, yes, the IATF also has to bring in African countries together and, empower us and, let us take advantage of this initiative. How well are we faring as a country in this initiative at this time? Remember AGOA, what happened? I'm worried. I want us to get the best of the AFCFTA.
Definitely, and we're strongly prioritizing AFCFTA. So the AFCFTA has been on trading now for 5 years. There was a guided trade initiative that has now ended with some pilot countries. Nigeria had participated in the second tranche of that. But to be honest, what we did, first of all, was to take stock. Under the agreement, there's a provision that asks that each country have a 5-year assessment. When the Secretary General visited us in January 2025, we announced that we would be the first country to start that process. I'm pleased to announce we completed it. We have our 5-year review. We've looked at everything, what worked well, what didn't work well, and the roadmap of where we're going next. I was able to take that to Algiers and present it to the ministers, the workshop of ministers of responsible for trade. We had a round table on the sidelines of the IATF and really show Nigeria's leadership and commitment. Within a few days, in fact, less than a week, I was at the Africa Union speaking and championing for Nigeria. In February, we were at the AU again for African Heads of State meeting. Mr. President was commended for the role that we've taken in digital trade so far, and we were awarded the co-championship of that protocol. We've also prioritized the Women and Youth Protocol, export-led. You will recall that we opened an air cargo corridor with Uganda Air, with 13 Southern and Eastern African countries for our female exporters, starting with, negotiated a flat rate for them. So it's all about market access. You know the work we're doing in the ECOWAS corridor, the West African corridor. Mr. President had a West African Economic Summit. So there's so much going on with Nigeria and rest of Africa. Our exports are already up 24% year-on-year in Q1 as released by the central bank. It's really such an exciting time, particularly for our non-oil exports as they diversify across the continent.
Indeed. The last figures from the NEPC was quite commendable. I think about 19% increase from what we used to have, about $3.2 billion, if I'm correct. I think we can still hit like $5 billion maybe moving forward. We'll definitely do better. The call for a single African currency has been re-echoed, and again at this trade fair. Do you think this can also help some challenges around trade and investment across the continent?
I mean, no doubt, it's a wonderful ideal to have. We've seen also what can work or what haven't. We've seen the euro in the EU, for instance. What is important is that businesses are able to trade, and they're able to trade effectively and in a cost-efficient manner. So we have digital solutions like the PAPS, Afreximbank's Pan-African Payment Settlement System, that allows businesses to settle in local currency. It also keeps more value in the continent, so we're not trading in dollars and spending a lot on corresponding bank fees. So there are creative, innovative solutions that are helping us to leapfrog that particular challenge, while the ideal would be to have a single currency, a single passport, ease of movement of goods, ease of movement of people. That is where we're working towards as the African Union. But as we get there, we also have creative ways and innovative ways to solve for our people as we go along.
Well, let's talk about trade and investment policies. Having you in is an opportunity to ask about what you're doing, major efforts aimed at attracting more of foreign direct investment into the country. We business journalists see that at the moment we're having more of FPIs. What are we doing? What more are we doing? Yes, the president has been going around marketing the country, but what more what's happening at the FMT, that's the ministry, to drive this investment as expected?
Okay, so portfolio investors, it's also a very, very positive sign. It's the first mover. When you see portfolio investment coming into an economy, you know that means that they have that confidence. You've seen our ratings move also. It's not patient capital, but it's capital that we also need and we also welcome. So looking at our mix, we're also prioritizing patient foreign direct investment. And so it's been a busy year. We've been out quite a bit. We've also welcomed guests, like we welcomed the Vice President of Colombia and a delegation just upper week. We also were in Brazil, as you know, and since the beginning of the year, since Davos, we've been in and out quite a bit. What that does is it engenders confidence. There are a lot of G2G, government-to-government discussions going on. You saw our BASA, and that led to a direct flight with Brazil. Those things don't happen overnight. With our counterparts, my colleagues and I on the cabinet, and with our various counterparts, we keep negotiating deals. We are currently in a number of negotiations. We're in negotiations with countries in the Middle East. We've opened up some negotiations. We're about to exchange model agreements with a country in the Caribbean. We're, of course, discussing with Brazil. There's so much going on. And then leveraging what is already going on the continent, what is already going on in the ECOWAS region. When we had our West Africa Economic Summit, our deal room generated interest of over $400 million, and that was just within the West Africa sub-region. And so we've prioritized having concrete deal rooms. We've prioritized deal preparation. We work closely with NSIA, with IFC, with AFC, with different institutions that can help us also with de-risking some of our investments. We're looking at priority sectors that we continue to put forward, while we have infrastructure projects that have been very attractive to investors across the world. We also have our digital sector that continues to generate a lot of interest. We have our manufacturing, we have our agribusiness. And so the mix and what we put forward has been generating quite a bit of interest, which is why we're so busy, both internally and externally. And we also continue to really support our domestic investors. You know, we had our inaugural Domestic Investment Summit about 6 weeks ago now, just listening to their problems, you know, from Pebek, this is what I do. And we've continued to work with not just the Platinum Business Champions. That particular summit was targeted at medium to large businesses, but we work very closely also with MSMEs, delivering the systemic change that they need.
Your closing thoughts now for members of the business community and others interested, of course, in the activities of the ministry and everyone watching this interview that wants to hear from the minister. What more do you have to tell us?
Believe, believe, believe. I feel like Nigerians, there's a bit of the lag. I'm getting a lot of buzz from foreign investors, from the curious, from those ready to take the step, ready to take the risk. And it's not just me. Portfolio investors, private equity are getting a lot of interest. When they're there to talk about other markets, people are asking them internationally about Nigeria's economy. The economy has been stabilized, but there's still that lag as we get it to the social safety nets and the bottom of the pyramid. And that's Mr. President's priority. He's prioritizing food sovereignty. You've seen him go to get a lot of agribusiness investors. We got a big one from Brazil late last year. You also see that the areas that we know that we can galvanize investment and move the needle, create jobs. We had Nexim disburse over 400 billion naira recently, and that led to over 12,000 direct jobs. The change is real. The change is happening. The trust deficit has been there with private sector, with government, but just take a moment to look objectively at the indicators and believe, because we're at an inflection point and the best is certainly yet to come.
Honorable Minister, Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, thank you so much for joining us on Business Nigeria. I hope to have you soon again to have some evaluation of policies and all of that moving forward as we get to the end of the year.
Pleasure.
Thank you. All right, then still to